spiritual awakening is the remembrance of this space of ourselves. So you have a human heart and you have a human mind, and then you have a spiritual alignment of that human form-based being. The spiritual alignment is your eternal self. It has a direct connection to what I deem and call the higher heart and the higher mind. And yes, humanity's been in an alignment of itself that has been taught, and I don't like the word manipulated, but in some ways it fits.
Yeah.
To believe itself to need something higher than itself, to need something outside of itself, to heal it, to guide it, to forgive it, to teach it, to whatever. And so for me, the higher mind and higher heart are the space of alignment we're ready for now, many humans, which is I believe, an essence point and an origin point of remembrance that is, it's always been within us. It's always been us, It's always been our heart. It's always been our mind. I use the word higher to just help understanding the difference between maybe a more flesh, carnal-based understanding of a heart and a carnal because you have a mind and you have a heart that's based on the human's way the human would live. But then you also have a space of yourself in which you're tapping into processing yourself and the world around you that's coming from an entirely different conscious awareness. And that to me would be the higher mind and higher heart.
Welcome to a Broaderlands podcast. The opinions expressed on Broaderlands podcast are those of the guest speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of the host or Broaderlands podcast. A.L. Garris, welcome to Broaderlands podcast. What an honor to have you. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me. Oh my goodness, I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you, Holy One.
No, thank you. I really appreciate your presence, because I see so many people at that Conscious Life Expo. But every time I see you, I just feel like this humility, authenticity. You're just really, you're a special one. I really appreciate you coming on.
I value your words very deeply. Yes, it was a decision. Yes, it was a decision made many years ago to allow that space of myself and embody it. And some people see me as odd or weird or whatever, but I would rather be that kind of different, if you know what I mean.
Well, the weirdness in me honors the weirdness in you.
I love it.
Going back to your upbringing, did you come into this world like this, or did you have some type of event did you have a deep spiritual awakening or little educational variety type awakenings, or what's your background in your story for those who have missed our first episode?
My story. Wow, that's always such a big question to ask somebody, right? But I now see my story in more of its availability, or I'm more available to it than when it was happening to me. And maybe that makes sense to people, right? You look back over your life and you see the spaces you took yourself and the journey you went on and how it brought you to where you are in this very moment. I always knew there was more than what the everyday world was telling us there was. So I always had this knowing inside me, even as a little girl, that I was raised in church, fundamental Christian church background, and I'm very grateful for it. It taught me a lot. It brought me a lot of understanding about that space and that thought process and so forth. But even in church, as a little kid, I would ask my parents, why aren't we doing more than what Jesus did? Because Jesus said we would. So even as a little child, and I would question some of the stories and the parables and stuff, and I would want to understand why are we listening to this and saying this is our belief, but then we're not living it? We can't really see it at the degree that I, as a kid, thought we should, I guess. And so spirituality and beings like angels, demons, and eventually like aliens or star beings or higher dimensional beings, that was always part of my world. There was never a time that I can remember when it was like an aha to that greater space of us. It was always part of a knowing inside of me. And there was a point in my early 20s. Again, I was at church. I had left a denominational belief structure that was more conservative, and I had went from Lutheran to Baptist to Pentecostal. And anybody knows religion, you can get a giggle out of that, and you can see the progression. So I was in my early 20s, and I was at a Pentecostal church, and I just had some really big spaces with people coming up to me and asking me for prayer. I was just a person at church. I wasn't a pastor or anything at that church, but they would come up to me and ask me to pray over them, and I would, and they would drop on the floor and shake and be filled with the Spirit, and people were having healings and stuff was happening. And I just realized that there was so much more coming up inside of me. There was so much more remembrance wanting to flood in. And I was like 22, 23, and I had a massive, emotional connection with spirit all by myself. And I started speaking in tongues. I called it that because that's the space I was in at the time. Now people say, oh, you're speaking light language, and these soul messages. There's all these different terms we give based on where we're at. And then about 15 years later or so, I don't know, I had another massive movement of energy, and languages came through again, and emotion, a lot of emotion, but love, like this amazing, immense amount of love that I had never felt in human form before. And I came from a very loving family, but it was this incredible amount of love, emotion, and language, this very ancient language. That's what I call it. And sometimes I say yes, and sometimes I do a little bit of a extra breath, or my cadence will change. It's me. It's me. It's a space of us. I think a lot of humans are starting to awaken in themselves, and we don't know what to call it yet specifically. So we're putting labels of yesterday on it, and we're saying we're channeling this, that, or the other. We're speaking from our essence. That's my take on it. We're speaking from our essence. We're holding the alignment of our higher mind and higher heart, and it's flooding through. So born with the understanding there was more, raised through the traditional teachings of the church, knowing there was still more, and then navigating my way into the more as I was an adult. And the minute I decided to trust myself and allow myself, and somebody's listening right now and they're in that spot of it, the minute I decided to do that, that space of me then felt welcomed and it could show up. Yes. And that is when I saw everything differently. I thought I had a good understanding of it, but then all of a sudden it was more unified field consciousness, more me inside of you, you inside of me, the earth itself, the animals, all of it. It just became an entirely different vantage point. And so I think that's what people pick up on when they tell me that there's an authenticity or a humility, a presence with me, is that because how I register you. I see your divinity, and it's very moving. And I had to learn how to gauge that, because at first it was very emotional to come into someone's presence and recognize their divinity. And I can't, I have to be able to communicate with people and hold conversation and converse and be with them in presence. So I had to learn how to gauge the energies. And be that space, knowing I was in the presence of the divine in a human format or an animal or a tree or whatever it is.
I love that. How do you define a unified field of consciousness? Can you expand on that a little bit more?
Yes. My understanding at this point, my inner knowing at this point, the unified field is the spaces of the one that is within the many. Yes. So you have a singular consciousness, an origin point essence, a source point. And then it expands and explores itself through all these variation points. So there's a field of energy that make up all the variation points that make up the one. And so for me, the unified field could be described in that manner.
I love that. And does that happen with a spiritual awakening? How do you define a spiritual awakening? Because you hear that a lot in the spiritual community, and I understand it with my own experience, living like in a very unconscious, self-centered state, into waking up and feeling really more in harmony with unity consciousness.
Mm-hmm. Yes, being able to see the divine within all the spaces of itself, being able to give room and space to that, because not all spaces are remembering their divinity yet, So they're all in different increments or parts of the journey and realization spaces. It's spiritual awakening for me is the way you understand yourself shifting into a more expanded space of understanding, and therefore, inevitably, the way you see the world around you moves as well, because they're interconnected. You change the way you understand you, and you're going to change the way you understand the world around you. And then I think it's incremental. And I think that once you understand yourself, what do I mean by that? Once you are aware of, that's a good one. Once you are aware of yourself as having a now and having a human experiential space of existence, a lifetime, a name, a role, a space, maybe many roles in this lifetime, mother, sister, brother, husband, whatever it is. Once you understand that you're that, but what is in essence, what is experiencing that? What is having the now? The essence, the origin. So once you key into these points of reference, you don't have to land them completely. You don't have to understand them completely. But once you're aware of them, that you're an eternal soul having the now. That to me is the awakening moment, spiritually awakening. And I think, we're designed masterfully to live in human bodies and have experiences as humans, which mean you have thoughts, you have beliefs, you have emotions, you have all these spaces that give you the opportunity of the experience, the exploration, the growth, the remembrance. And these bodies are designed masterfully to shift and to ascend. I think that's something that is not maybe focused on as much as it could be. That could be helpful to humanity, for you to know that your body is designed masterfully to be this space. It's designed masterfully to have spiritual awakening, that realization of your eternal essence that's experiencing itself in a particular now. The body's a key component, because sometimes spiritual awakening can become a concept of becoming enlightened, and you want to kind of get out of Dodge and you want to just stay in this high state of your understanding of yourself, And that to me is not spiritual awakening, because spiritual awakening is embodiment of the spirit within the form. And so it's the implementation, the activation only happens, the expansion, the spiritual awakening only happens as you choose to be that remembrance of yourself when you're in the checkout line at the grocery store, when you're at the library, when you're at the pumping gas, when you're at work, when you're at school, wherever your thing is as human, If you're embodying your essence within that now, that's spiritual awakening.
Mm. Love that. I often say, sometimes like, you hear a lot about the Galactic Federation, different types of ETs and all that. But sometimes I'm like, okay, let's just get back to more to Mindy and let's focus on principles and applying that stuff here because there's a lot of disunity, a lot of hatred, a lot of division.
Yeah.
And even in the spiritual community, like
Mhm.
sometimes we get too focused on let's do this workshop and let's do this workshop, but how are we actually applying this in our daily life?
Exactly. Exactly. So anywhere along the way, the distractions are there.
Hmm.
Anywhere along the way, the distractions are there, right? And we're again designing these spaces of life to give us the opportunity to solidify, to really signal back to the field we've remembered. Not we just shifted into a new lane and we're still going to play the same game, but we've actually learned, we've actually remembered. And the only way that signal goes out is if it's being embodied by us, And I like to do this because I did the workshops, lectures. We got to see each other at Conscious Life Expo. That was amazing. I was so grateful to see you in person. It was lovely to turn around and see you standing there. I said this and somebody stood up at one of my workshops to ask a question afterwards, and they were questioning the white hats and the Galactic Federation and some other terms and what my thoughts were on it. And I believe this is in alignment with what you're saying. I said the teachings I offer and the mindset, the spaces of belief I offer all of that is available. All of that is running in one way or another in a specific reality line, this, that, according to your belief structure, you're going to key in more or not. All of it's available. But at the same time, there is a space of connection completely available that in a sense surfs on top of all those reality lines and all those waves and says, look at all these choices, look at all these available lines of energetic movement. But at the same time, look at this one that says, we're more, we're higher mind, we're higher heart. We're remembering that. We're asking ourselves to bring that into the now, embody it into the now. For me personally, these lines separate us. They do not unify us. And these lines separate us from the higher mind and higher heart. I'm not saying that they don't have value within them in some way or another, but I'm saying don't give them every part of you. You can be aware of them, but they don't have to be the be all end all, the only focus point of reference you hold. I can't do that because I realized how vast we are. So I cannot at this point box myself up into any of them. And I even have a hard time with people call me the woman who walks with angels because of the light beings that come into my workshops, my lectures, my destination events, my sanctuary when I film here. And I don't call them angels. I prefer to use wordage that gives room for the incomprehensibleness of them because they are. We can try to define all of this all day long and we will come up with all kinds of great terms and definitions. But at the end of the day, we could never, ever say enough to be in complete alignment with the complexity of these spaces. So I say higher dimensional beings of light. I say the unnamed, the unseen and the unnamed. I respect the names people have chosen to give. I don't negate them, but I personally do my best to leave some room and some space for this higher consciousness alignment of ourselves, what we're landing, we're bringing in, we're making more connection with. And it's beyond these names we've used. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Thank you. No, I think they say the woman that walked with the tattooed angel, and they were referring to me.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That's what that was.
You said higher mind, higher self. Can you define that for us or touch on that a little bit more?
Okay, so it's higher mind, higher heart, reference I use a lot.
Higher heart.
And this is in the connection with what I think spiritual awakening is as well. Spiritual awakening is the remembrance of this space of ourselves. So you have a human heart and you have a human mind, and then you have a spiritual alignment of that human form-based being. The spiritual alignment is your eternal self. It has a direct connection to what I deem and call the higher heart and the higher mind. And yes, humanity's been in an alignment of itself that has been taught and I don't like the word manipulated, but in some ways it fits.
Yeah.
To believe itself to need something higher than itself, to need something outside of itself, to heal it, to guide it, to forgive it, to teach it, to whatever. And so for me, the higher mind and higher heart are the space of alignment we're ready for now, many humans, which is I believe, an essence point and an origin point of remembrance that is, it's always been within us. It's always been us, It's always been our heart. It's always been our mind. I use the word higher to just help understanding the difference between maybe a more flesh, carnal-based understanding of a heart and a carnal because you have a mind and you have a heart that's based on the human's way the human would live. But then you also have a space of yourself in which you're tapping into processing yourself and the world around you that's coming from an entirely different conscious awareness. And that to me would be the higher mind and higher heart.
Mm. I'm not going to name any names, but, going back to unified field, once you tap into that and you experience it living in unity consciousness, having a spiritual awakening, it's hard for me to comprehend being in a bubble of beliefs. It's like those bubbles start to pop and it's like one bubble pops, the next bubble pops, and then you could see a lot like at a broader lens, right? Or you can say God consciousness as in religious terms. But I was talking to a gentleman who claims to have conversations with God, and he has some beautiful books. I've read them; they changed my life. But then you bring up a little bit of politics, or like talk about. I don't agree with the term illegal immigrants, and then he says, "Well, they are illegal," and he gets all crazy with that. Like I can't comprehend that having an awakening. Like that's not even like I can't comprehend dehumanizing another group of people, if that makes sense.
So I totally understand what you're saying. I was just having a conversation with somebody today about this. I think what we're doing is we're aware of the distractions around us that are giving us the opportunity of separation and division. We're aware of them now, but that doesn't mean we've learned how to live in the total new alignment of what a human does when it's aware of them. We're holding these spaces of humanity as humanity is going through one of the biggest, if not the biggest shift point of consciousness that will ever happen for this species, for humanity. And we've never done it before. So we don't have a handbook. We don't have a layout template. And we all have these spaces of belief that we've carried, most of us, our whole lives, some deeper than others. And we're realizing to embody the more, to embody and live as the higher mind and higher heart, all of us, whether we think they're illegal or we think they're not, all of us, because those are actually two sides, right? Yes. We are being given the opportunity. Nobody has to do anything, but we're all being given the opportunity to allow ourselves to leave that space completely. Yes, we're all being given the opportunity to not put our heads in the sand, not ignore, not act like it's not real or not happening, but be very mindful of the amount of focus and the type of focus we place on any of it. Because we hold a power, we wield a power within ourselves as creator beings that we are still learning how to understand and how to be. And a lot of people think they know it. I won't even say I think I know it completely. I don't think it would be wise for anyone to say they knew it completely, because the minute we say we know it completely, we're deeming that it is somehow boxable, And I don't think any of us will ever completely know it and embody it fully in our lifetime. And I don't think we would want to. Why do I say that? What do I mean? The minute you get close enough to that space of fully knowing and understanding and embodying, that space itself moves because it's connected through the unified field. And crown centers are opening really big right now. I'm sensing the energy of people watching us and connecting in with us right now. That's beautiful. Just everybody allow. But the minute we get close to this remembrance of ourselves, the remembrance of ourself expands further because it's unified, it's connected. So we'll never catch it, we'll never understand it fully, but we're being asked to embody it. What do I mean? We're the group of people who signed on to be here. The man that wrote the books, the you that holds the podcast, the me that's sharing the now. We all signed on to be here, and we all said, yes, we totally understand. This thing is going to go sideways really fast, and it's going to zip upside down, and we're all going to be going, what the, And it's our choice to do our best to hold balance and hold peace, whether the other person is still in the process of gaining that clarity, or whether they've fully anchored it, or whether they're having a moment, whatever it is. We're only responsible for the individual space of it we're being as the one we are, right? And we can find resonance with others. We can find resonance with others, and you feel it. You feel it immediately. Even if you don't hold exactly the same views, but you're in the resonance of allowing that unified field to land. So I can hold a view, you can hold a view, they can be different views, but if you and I are both choosing peace and balance, now we've made a choice to choose the unified field over the separation vibration.
I appreciate that. I know I've heard you say humanity is looking at itself for the first time, like never before. What do you mean by that? Like, does that mean we're looking at the collective shadow for the first time? Are we having a spiritual, a collective awakening? Could you?
Yes, it's all of it. It's all of it, really. And I mean, like, right? You can see it. You can see that there's all these spaces of us coming up to the surface that a lot of people are just like, wait, what? Like, no clue, like who knew? And some of them are really, really hard to digest. But at the same time, I know that some people will not be able to receive this in the way it's intended. And I have to be okay with that, to allow those that can to do so. All of these spaces are part of the evolution of humanity. All of these spaces are like specific unfoldings. If they don't unfold, the space doesn't move. So even the ones that are harder for us to see are, yes, extremely valuable to the way in which humanity moves. So instead of allowing ourselves to be sick about them or be fearful of them or allow them to become bigger than they need to be, in a sense, we need to just allow the awareness level to be available that this is a space. And then we make the conscious choice to either continue that space and that alignment, or to say, thank you for the wisdom. We receive the message, and we're going to move forward accordingly in a new manner, in a new way, in a new understanding of ourselves. All of it is us talking to us.
You often hear about mystics being seers. I love to expand on that a little bit. Like, what does it mean to you to be a seer? Do you have the ability to see beyond the veil?
Yes. It's so trippy cool.
I love that.
So there's probably different interpretations available. I can give you mine. My understanding of a seer is somebody who is available to register the energies of the unified field and pick up on spaces that would be valuable in one way or another and bring them through and bring them in for whoever is available to process them in the beneficial way and to do so. I don't believe yes, I and many other humans are living in a alignment of the field that we would call a new earth, or we're living in an alignment of the field that we would call 4D, 5D. We're living in an alignment of the field that we would call origin, divine blueprint returns. So seers in that space of the field, there's going to be a different definition because you have seers in 3D that the definition could also include manipulation. Yes, seeing things and utilizing the sight in order to purposefully manipulate people or places or things to happen for them or for another in a certain way. And you can see that in like even books, stories, movies of like, you know, whether they call it fiction or it was just us trying to send ourselves a message, where a seer is brought in to defeat another army or whatever it is, where the man in charge says, "Tell me what I need to do on the day of battle," or whatever. You know what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
kind of manipulative thing. But the field of consciousness that I and many other humans are living in right now, where we would be talking about a seer, we're talking about coming from, I believe every human in that field is a seer, because you cannot not see once you shift into that space of that remembrance of yourself in which you are connecting in with the higher mind and higher heart, and then you are the embodiment of it. The minute you open that door, the sight opens. The minute you open the heart to that space of yourself, the sight opens. The seer is born. Yes. As that space of alignment is engaged. So for me, the seer is every human in that higher space of its being that is allowing itself that remembrance and living the embodiment of it.
I love that. In in your book, the title, it says "Remembering Who We Are."
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean to remember who we are?
Oh, I love all your questions. If we were in person, I'd be like, look at you. You're just so fun to hang out with.
Thanks.
Okay, so remembering who you are. We tend to think spiritual awakening. We tend to think ascension. We're going somewhere we've never been. And in a way we are, because this part of us has never been it. This human being, this lifetime has never been it. But in the understanding of the soul, the consciousness inhabiting the form, having the soul experience the life, in the understanding of that space of us is eons and eons and eons old. So if my now version is awakening, it's just remembering what it already is. So remember who you are is that process. It's that availability to that space of yourself that is eternal, that's having the now.
Yeah, you often hear we're not human beings trying to have a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience.
Yes. And it's the exploration. Some people, they want to get out of here. They don't like it, or they think, why in the heck did I sign on for this? But like, seriously, if the person is able to shift that perspective into, I chose this, I designed this, this is exactly the setup I needed to shift my consciousness into a new level of itself. Now, which one feels more empowered? Yeah. Which one feels more aligned with, being available to your essence? Running away and hating where you are and can't understand why the heck you signed on for this one? That's disempowering. That's separation vibration. That's somebody who has not remembered who they are. Yes. And it's all right. There's no judgment. That wasn't said to make anybody feel like they've messed up or they've missed the mark or something like that. It's just an opportunity for every one of us to say, this isn't all there is. There's more. And there's more here right now. We don't have to leave to get to the more. We don't have to go to some other planetary system to get to the more, or even through a wormhole to a higher dimension or whatever, Stargate, whatever anybody wants to say. The more is right here. The more is right here. Your more, my more, their more. It's inside us. That's where the biggest transition, travel, interconnectivity could happen, inside the soul, inside the being.
I love that. You work with a lot of people, and I'm sure you came across this many times. When people have an awakening or come to a realization or a remembrance, it's almost hard to play the game anymore, and you can feel lonely, like you don't want to be here anymore.
No, that's why I say what I say. I know what you mean. Yes, yes.
And you feel like a misfit, an outcast, even though you feel the unity consciousness. You know that you're experiencing that namaste consciousness, but you feel like you don't belong anymore. It's hard to be a part of the groupthink. The groupthink actually calls you a heretic in many ways,
Well, you are in the world, but you are not of it.
Of it, yeah.
And so you're experiencing what that feels like. But again, your design, my design, their design, our design, purposefully. It's part of the exploration package. When you go on a trip and it's all inclusive, it's part of the all-inclusive package. It's what comes with the deal. And so I understand, and I bow before with reverence and love. And it's why I do what I do. It's my why, because I want to be here for the people that are saying, I don't like this. I can't do this. I don't want this. This hurts. This is, depressing. I'm lonely, whatever it is. I built a spiritual community for that purpose. I have a huge online spiritual community, international. I built it for that purpose because I wanted people to feel home. And that's what we say when you come to the space. We say, welcome home, Holy One. Welcome home. And I know I'm home base for people. I know I'm home base. People hear my voice. They come to my spaces. They experience my connection and they say something moved them to feel safe again, to feel loved again. I know that's why I'm here. I know that's what I'm supposed to do. And it moves me deeply. And that's why I hold humility, because it is, I believe, the most sacred thing you could do on this planet is to be there for someone's soul and someone's soul experience. It's an intimacy beyond words. But if they're in that space, if anybody hearing this is in that space, trust yourself. I know that it can be extremely difficult at times, but you are extremely valuable. Your presence alone, whether you figure out a purpose and take on that specific alignment, or you are doing whatever you're doing in the regular, everyday world, your presence alone is valued beyond measure because you are an anchor point and a broadcast point of what we're talking about by just being you. Whether you have a huge friend group, your family all's in on it, or whether it's just you right now and you're trying to find your way to your soul family, to your soul tribe, to the people that jive and resonate and hold that alignment you hold, you will find them. You will find them. I promise you, you will find them. There's a lot of energy moving in the solar plexus right now as well. So the way people digest life, the way they've been looking at life and sensing, feeling, receiving life is moving right now. So just listening to this conversation, just being in the presence of this is allowing the energies to move. And I'm going to say this, you can believe it with whatever faith level you choose. Be prepared to walk back into your life after you're connecting with this space and watch mountains move, watch doors open, and watch shifts change and happen, because something's moving right now and it's a different level than I've ever felt. I've done this before with you. We've been here before. This is a lot. This is really good, you guys. Yanea ka okoa. Yes. Really big energy is moving right now in a really beautiful way. So thank you to everyone who is a part of this. Thank you. Yes.
I appreciate that. I want to go back to your booth at the Conscious Life Expo. you came with a team. I mean, you guys were just like, you guys are there, like I could feel your corner right there. It's like powerful. Like, in the cosmic quantum energy, how do you help people? Maybe you can kind of like help broaden our lens with the work that you guys do to help people heal, reset the nervous system, etc.
Yeah, no, it's important. And thank you for bringing it up. I have a fantastic team. We went in there, 10 individuals on the team and myself, and they were there at booth 86 in International Ballroom, Conscious Life Expo. This was our third year. And then I hold the lectures and workshops to assist in massive group spaces as well. We had more movement than I had ever seen. We landed an entirely new field, plane of existence. Like in the workshop space, it was insane. The feedback was phenomenal. People like massive. It's incredible. This work, a cosmic quantum energy, came in 2020, and it is a higher dimensional space of connection that we actually can work with through this modality that assists this whole process we're talking about. It assists this spiritual awakening happening. It assists the way we assimilate it. It assists the body, the nervous system, the organs, the blood, the bone, the marrow, the water. It assists the mind, the neural pathways. It assists the energy centers, the third eye, all of the centers, the heart portal. There's a portal of energy near your heart. Everyone has one. It helps that open so the I am flow of you can come in. It helps you ground. That's one of the biggest things we needed help with in humanity in general, and we still have to be conscious of, is as we awaken, we're changing our energy. So as you and I have a different understanding of ourselves, our frequency changes. Does that make sense? And so if you change your frequency, you're going to need to ground that, anchor that, so that your body can assimilate and process that. So another big thing that a cosmic quantum energy works with, and the work I do offers, is ground the energies, those expansive energies being grounded, and it's into new earth frequency, which is the original template. And you're going to hear me use that word. You've heard me use that word. Original template is a connection point of understanding of the earth in its original design prior to distortion. Prior to separation vibration. So it's interesting because we have a lot of people talk about new earth, which works. It's fine. It is going to be new. It is new. Yes. But it is also an original space of us, which if you look at spiritual awakening in general, we can see that reflectiveness as well. We're remembering who we are. The earth is remembering its original template. The distortions are clearing. The grids are resetting. The ley lines are shifting to run that frequency free of distortion.
Yeah, appreciate that. I think it was Kristen Hope.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, she's dope. Yeah, she's really nice.
Dope. She's dope. She's one of my team leaders. She's phenomenal. She's actually teaching a course. I don't think it started yet, but she's teaching a cosmic quantum. I'm teaching right now, but I've already been teaching for a month. It goes for about 11, 12 weeks. So I'm pretty far in. But Kirsten's course starts really soon. So anybody hearing this, depending upon when it's aired, you could check out KirstenHope.com. She's got AQE, a cosmic quantum energy, what we're talking about. She's teaching a course on it. So that would be a fantastic way to connect with it if this resonates with you.
Yeah, thank you. Thich Nhat Hanh would often say, no mud, no lotus flower. And are we in the mud right now, looking at ourselves, looking at the collective shadow? Because in order to achieve a new earth, we're going to have to go through a really hard process, it looks like right now, that we're going through right now. I mean, you hear about, and I'd love for you to talk about the Epstein files, all the fear that's being thrown at us in every direction. Most people are on survival mode because of the system we're in, living paycheck by paychecks. A lot of people are having a hard time, full of stress. I mean, you go to the freeway at a certain time, and a lot of people are bumper to bumper, not realizing that they're stressing, they're in stress, it just, and for me, like, you can't make America healthy again if you have a lot of hate. Make America hate again. A lot of hate, a lot of stress, a lot of fear. And, Bruce Lipton is pretty clear in his work. Fear and love have an opposite effect on the mind and body. It's like, what's going on? What's your view on all that?
Well, it's all connected to the awakening process. So we've designed this space, specifically the mud, to create the opportunity for the lotus flower. The interpretation of the mud is the key factor. So anybody hearing me right now that's super stressed or angry or frustrated or hopeless in any way, this is the design allowing us to own our mastery. So as long as we are placing the power through blame or judgment or whatever it is, fear, as long as we're placing that focus on something outside of us, we're like leaking out, yes, the power that's innate within us. So it's like, I don't know if this works here or not, and you may be better at this clip than I am, but I'm pretty sure it was in Star Wars or something, where Obi-Wan Kenobi, I think, is fighting Vader, and he drops the weapon and stands there and releases the need to fight him any longer.
Yeah.
And Vader, I guess, kills him or whatever. But am I right? Is that a scene? Is that a famous scene?
I remember Darth Vader killing him, but I don't remember the exact scene,
Okay.
to be honest.
I'm
It's been a
pretty
while.
sure like there's this moment where he just goes into a Zen peace state, and he's just like, I'm not fighting with you anymore. Like, this has been going on too long. And I'm not saying people have to give up, but I'm saying be mindful of the power you wield by the perception you hold and by, yes, the connection you choose to feed. So, Bruce Lipton talks about this. Joe Dispenza talks about this. Greg Braden talks about this at great length. We hold a power within us that is in that space of surrender where we don't need to fight with whatever we've been fighting with any longer. And we go into this mode of remembrance of the power within us that no matter, and I know this can be so difficult at a certain point for people that are navigating really big spaces, but it's a power play available on our part. Okay. I lived in a space of this where I was paycheck to paycheck. I lived in a space of this where it was a totally different world. And I had some health issues. I had mental, emotional issues with like panic and anxiety attacks. I lived in the space where things seemed really, really dark and really, really dense. So I'm not coming from talking at people without having a space of this I navigated. Does that make sense? So when I say this, please know that about me, okay? I got myself out of that alignment by doing what Bruce Lipton says, by doing what Greg Braden says, by doing what Joe Dispenza says. And I had to remove my focus completely from everything I had placed it on as to what I was deeming right and wrong with the world and right and wrong with everything around me. And I had to go really real about owning the power of my thought, owning the power of where I place my focus. And it took me some time because I was so good at being who I was. I knew how to be angry about blah, blah, blah. I knew how to go into that situation already defensive. I knew how to hold that type of mindset on that type of space. I was good at it. I was so good at it. I was at a Joe Dispenza progressive workshop one time in 2017, and he said something that stuck with me that I thought was so good. And I think it would help here. I'm not meaning to judge anybody. It's only information of science-based, what we know about the brain, what we know about the way we create with consciousness. But he said this woman stood up. It was a Q&A part of the event. And she said, if you were going to tell us one thing to fast as being beneficial for us, as we're going through spiritual awakening, as we're changing our lives, what is the one thing, if there's anything, that we should fast? And he kind of giggled a teeny bit. And then he said, there is one thing that is the most powerful thing you could ever fast. And I'm thinking, donuts. I don't know what, like, some sweets or something. And he says the most powerful thing you can fast that would be beneficial to you is complaining.
Mm.
Like mic drop moment. It hit me so big because I was really good at complaining. I like complaining. It was easy to complain. So, and sometimes there could be validation in what you're complaining about, but if you're complaining about it, you're aligning it to continue to happen. Does this make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. You like get stuck in a loop. Like Eckhart Tolle. Eckhart Tolle, when I first read New Earth, he talked about
Mm.
how complaining strengthens the ego. Now, I don't
Oh,
think the ego's completely bad, but it can
right.
create an
But it can
healthy
get out of
sense.
control.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, out of
Yeah.
control.
Out of control.
And
Yeah.
like it mic drop, it's really
No.
like it
Yeah.
opened up something in me where I became
Yeah.
more aware. I think it's all
You
about
know,
awareness.
there's a part of that as well. I love it. I got the book right there on my shelf. He talks about the pain body.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's all connected, right? Because that complaining is that pain body wanting to eat. That judgment is that pain body wanting to be fed. And it's funny how it will literally try to spark it in another person so that it can do its thing. But once you become aware of it and you start to, do your best, it doesn't have to be perfection, but
Yeah.
even just a little bit of awareness and an incremental change of, today I'm not going to talk about that, or today I'm not going to watch that. People say they're so stressed. What should I do about, I don't like that this is going on. I see it all the time. I say, what are you looking at? Stop looking at it.
Yeah.
Seek and ye shall find. Knock and it shall be opened unto you, right? So stop knocking on that door and stop looking in that window. Like, change that, vantage point, and what you're looking at's going to change. So I don't know. I think that factors in, but I don't want anyone to feel like what they're upset about or what they're dealing with isn't valid. I just say you wield a ability. You have an ability. Please hear this. You have an ability within you to change the reflection you're seeing, but it cannot change until you make the change inside of you. It's a direct reflection of belief structures we hold. And until we change them, it's not going to change. Yes. So people are living, there's an innumerable amount of realities. People think there's one
Yeah.
reality. There is not. There are an innumerable, incomprehensible amount of realities playing out right now. And you could have, two people only, and they could have two totally different takes on what's happening, right? Those are two different realities. They're going to be experienced based on the person's perception. Change your thoughts, change your life, change your perception, change your view, like it's all interconnected. So you do play a role in it. That's, I guess, the end of the story for this topic. You play a role. Don't shortchange your role. Don't shortchange how valuable your role is, and maybe take more control over your role. Like try to implement more, even if it's a little, even if it's incremental, implement some changes that help you see more peace. Implement some changes. You know what? I have a dear friend and she has belief structures that this is not easy for her. The reflection that she sees is not easy for her. And so you know what she does to help herself? I love it. I love it. She says she watches, because her feed used to be full of the content she does not want to see. It just drives her crazy, right? So I said, stop looking at it. So she chose to purposefully go look for and search for videos, funny videos of animals. But it brings her joy. It keeps her focus off of those spaces, and she's noticed an immense amount of stress leave her because she's no longer feeding it these spaces that definitely are not positive for her. So focus matters, intention matters, alignment matters, and we're very powerful. So own your power. Own your power.
I love that. Do you feel there's dark forces out there, other beings messing with us, or is it our unconscious?
Oh, we're going to get trippy. You want to get trippy?
Let's get trippy.
We're going to get trippy. Let's get trippy with it. Okay. So, yes. And we create it all. So the design can have these spaces of dark entities, dark demons, whatever, depending upon your belief structure, the name will change. But you and I, all of us, anyone hearing us, also are the creators of the spaces we're experiencing. Just like we just said, a zillion different realities based on belief structures. So if your belief structure is embedded in the alignment of the dark entities are, it's a prison planet. That's a concept that's out there, right? It's a recycling, draining, feeding off your energy. That's a thing that's out there, right? Those reality lines are available. But here's the trippy part for me. I believe that when you die, yes, no matter what reality line you're tapping into at the time, when you leave the physicality and the eternalness of you carries forward, we use the word forward, it's not really accurate, but it moves into the next alignment of itself. It realizes, this is my take, you don't have to have it. You realize, you remember, you're safe. That all of these constructs are just spaces of beliefs that have been created as realities. But I think at the end of the day, you're safe. I have had incredible supernatural experiential spaces with divine beings, and the information repetitively in my higher mind and higher heart is we are safe and we are loved, and we've made this entire design to guide us into that remembrance, to shake us into that remembrance, to lead us into that remembrance. Everybody's doing it a different way. Some are shaking, some are being guided, some are being led. Everybody's registering a different way, but everybody's on the same path. We're all going to the same space. We're all coming from the same alignment. We're just got these very different experiential spaces, ways in which we're doing it based on the belief structures. I used to have insane experiential spaces with demons because I was in a belief structure that was what happened in that reality line. Wow. And I had to walk myself through massive fear spaces and confront them, like literally feeling like there were claws on the ankles one time in bed and couldn't move my mouth because I was having this massive like out of body space at the same time. And it was trippy and I was terrified, but I was at a state of consciousness awareness where I knew I was more and I was done. I was the Obi-Wan Kenobi moment. I was done and I was dropping my arms and I was like, I'm not battling this battle anymore. This is ridiculous. And I like forced myself to try to reach towards it like in physicality. I wasn't sleeping. I was coming up out of being out of body and I could feel the presence in my room in a physical sense. And I was moving towards it with my hand and I was terrified. Like my mind was like, it could harm you. It could cut you. It could hurt you. It's an entity. It's a demon. It's bad. And everything in me, in my faith was saying, you're more. And you're no longer living in this fear. You have to push through this fear. And I'm not telling anybody to do this. You have to be in the space that works for you. And everybody's in a different space and they should be. But for me, this was me. And I forced myself to put my hand towards what I had believed to be this demonic thing. And the minute my hand reached the space I thought it was in, it just dissolved and it just left. And it never came back that way. And I had had sleep paralysis for years and the sleep paralysis stopped. So many things changed. I go out of body. I used to go to these weird trippy spaces that were, I guess, lower astral realms. People call them that, right? I never go there anymore, but I don't live in that alignment. It's not my belief structure. It's not my understanding of myself. Therefore, it's not the understanding of the world around me. You can only see what you believe.
And you hear that in their death experiences. They experience the other side or whatever you want to call it through their belief systems.
Yes.
If they truly believe in just family, they have a loved one, a Christian background, they'll have Jesus or the Buddha or Krishna or whatever their belief systems match their reality on the other side, which is pretty interesting.
That's what I say. We're creating it all, even our quantum experiential spaces.
Yeah.
We're creating it all, even our near death or after, like, I totally agree with you on that. I totally agree with you. It's our design from start to finish. And as you change the way you understand who you are, the design changes. All aspects. That's why even the work, a cosmic quantum energy, quantum is because we're becoming this space of awareness. So when we do energy work, we're not just working on the space of us that we're in this human body. That's available, absolutely. But this awareness level of ourself exists beyond this body, And we could get into some trippy cool conversations about that. Because as we're having this now, most likely, like I'm 99.9 sure, there's a space of your soul in another space of field existence experiencing itself there as well, simultaneously in your quantum being, your multidimensional being, because that's how vast you are. You need multiple spaces of experiential exploration because that's how vast you are. Like just thinking about that for 1 second actually helps, for me at least, maybe everybody's perception is different. If I'm in a space that feels big, or if I'm in a space that I didn't see coming, and I kind of have to figure out how to do my best to navigate it and stay in my balance, right? Remembering that I'm all this space, I got other stuff going on. I'm in another dimension doing something else at the same time I'm doing this. And I'm like, I could do this. I could do this. Are you with me?
Appreciate that. You talk about, I know as a child you were able to experience these higher dimensional beings, and you still do to this day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you got any messages about like the what's going on, the Epstein files? I mean, is that being used to keep us in a lower frequency? I mean, obviously, like, how do you look at that? How do you see that? Because you hear a lot about the Epstein files. You go on Instagram, and so you go on, YouTube or Facebook or whatever.
Yes.
It's all you hear for a lot of people.
Yes. So it's what we talked about earlier. It's the shadow self. It's the space of us that we have to see in order to decide who we are and who we'll be. Yes. It is the clearing process. It's the purge. It is a reality of a space of humanity, a massive space of humanity. It was at its core a manipulation process. It was a blackmail process. It was a, yes. This is, yes. Yes. In many reality lines, it was also, a very dark, purposeful, intentional, ceremonial space. Yes. To create alignments of energy okay. Yeah. Yes. To create alignments of energy that were designed to manipulate humanity and keep it from ascending, keep it from waking up. Yes. So some of this is ceremonial based with dark energies because there are people that have played roles that were in power, and to maintain that power, humanity can't wake up. Yes. It cannot remember itself. If it does, game over. And so some of this got very, very dark very, very quickly because these people, and they're not the only ones, they are the human embodiment of this. There are others involved as well that would not be considered human. They began doing ceremony. Yes. Sick, sadistic ceremony. This is so ugly, but just allow, we'll clear it, okay? Yes, awareness allows for clarity as well, so we allow that. This is not our defining moment. That's important for everyone to hear because some people will not process this as easily as others. Does this make sense to you? So we need to remember this is not our defining moment. This is our shift moment. This is our wake up moment. This is our clarity moment. Yes. So you've got blackmail, you've got manipulation and control, you've got greed, run the world the way that you want it run. Absolutely. In many timelines, not just one or two, but at the same time, you have this very dark level of, yes, energetic movement to manipulate the masses, because this is the key that will help us if we'll all hold this together that can hear right now, right? That's how scared they were. That's how much they were losing their grip. They had to get into a space of alignment, of manipulation that is almost beyond comprehension. But it is also part of the shadow. It is also part of the purge of the darkness. But you cannot even understand the darkness or be aware of the darkness unless the light is on in the room. That's a very important factor. The light came in at a new level as much as the darkness rose. This is simultaneous. So if you see a lot of darkness, please allow yourself to remember there is even more light. You cannot see what you're seeing right now if there's not a massive amount of light on in the room. Does this make sense to you?
That makes a lot of sense. So when we see past and present presidents, celebrities, all these so-called important people, did they sell their soul to this dark force to get this power?
Right. I think we would have to be honest and say we don't know all of them personally. Some of them could have been coerced or tricked or, I do believe every single one of them signed on in some way or another. They may not even be aware of it at this point of their consciousness, but they said, I'll play that role. I'll play that role. And the role is important as well because this is something I don't think is talked about very much, if at all. And that is that within all of this is also, there are people we've looked up to. There are people we've deemed some way and somehow, that, you would want their autograph, you would want their photograph, you love their work, you think they're amazing, you think they're an incredible person, they're like a pastor or a president or a celebrity or a singer or whatever. So we've looked up to them and we've given them some type of power in a sense. Does this make, yeah? So then now to see them in this light, to see them in this space, I believe one of the other messages available to us is that we're again asking ourselves to stop looking outside of ourselves. Stop making other people or other beings bigger than us. Stop. It's us. It's inside us. The purity, the love, the incredible vastness, the intelligence, the wit, the joy. It's all here. It doesn't have to come from a hit, from anything outside. It's here. And if you blow up this, if everything you've ever looked to for joy, for, connectivity of, some type of enjoyment factor, entertainment factor, protection factor, if everything outside is blown up in a sense, isn't that a way in which we could be forcing ourselves to remember we're the one we've been looking for? We're the one that's home base, not these outside spaces.
Thank you. You did mention non-human. What did you mean by that?
Well, there's a couple things with that. There are beings connected with many timelines that are non-human. They are higher dimensional beings or lower dimensional beings, dependent upon the level of consciousness they're working in and as and from. Beings that manipulate from fear, through fear, and as fear, they're going to be running in a lower, consciousness. They're going to be running in a lower dimensional field. That's the only way they can work and do what they do. Beings that are operating from a benevolent, non-attached, space of consciousness, there's no manipulation. They'll be there to assist possibly, but only at a certain level because they can't go beyond that or they are manipulating. You know what I mean? Like it's, up to us. It's up to us to remember. It's up to us to choose differently. It's up to us to shift, to change. And so, it's very we could find it more simplistic and easy to identify and understand these beings and where they're coming from whether or not whatever you're being told, whatever you're being fed, whatever you're being given, is it coming from fear or is it coming from love? Is it coming from separation or is it coming from unity? And you can kind of start to use your discernment more and more, which is something really we need to lean into more now more than ever. Use your discernment, listen to your intuition. It's really big. Humans don't do this. Humans ask everybody and their brother, what do you think I should do? What do you think this means? And at the end of the day, that's fine. You can get information and understandings, and certain individuals may be able to bring in some clarity. That's absolutely true. But weigh it against what do you think as well? That's all I ask. My father's not in the physical anymore. He passed away when I was 23, and he taught me something really big that stuck with me. And, yes, he said to me, baby girl, that's what he called me, baby girl, you're going to be told a lot of things in life, and some of them are going to come from people you trust greatly. They could be teachers or family members or a pastor or whoever. And listen and receive with respect, but always, always, always go within. Always go within. Give yourself the opportunity to register and read it, and you see what you think. And you're connecting in with spirit when you're doing that. This is divine sacred alignment. And I don't think humans are as used to doing that. I don't think we've been as available to doing that, to really getting still and quiet and listening and asking, what do I think? What do I feel? Yes. What do I believe? Yes. But I think we're getting better. And I think we're closer to this space of ourselves than we've ever been before. And it's all in alignment with what we're talking about here today and what's happening in humanity. Discernment is key. Look at AI. Half the time, you don't even know if what you're watching or reading or whatever, ingesting in whatever way you're taking the information in, we don't even know if it's real anymore with what they can do. Discernment is more important than ever. So really learn to listen to yourself, and you have to do it. You just have to do it to have it expand. Use it or lose it. Work the muscle and it grows. Discernment. Ask yourself, what do I think about this? What do I believe about this? Am I ready to move into a new alignment of this? There's always, always, always another space of everything you're thinking, everything you're asking, everything you're wondering about. There's a space, and then there's more. Always.
I love that. And I think that's the greatest thing I've learned through living the spiritual path, living these principles in my daily life it helps enhance this intuition, really tap into that intuition. And a lot of times I don't have the answer. I can't explain why. I just know that this is not real. This is fake, or this is true. Or this is the way I should be turning, versus the other way. I just have this inner knowing, and learning how to trust it takes practice, and it takes, at least for me. But
no, it does.
I think
it does for me as well. You're right. It takes practice, and that's how that trust builds. Because we keep giving it the opportunity to do so by practicing it. Yeah.
Because we live in a society that's perfectly designed to look for a outside savior, or a certain group, or always everyone has something else other than us.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest things we teach in a cosmic quantum energy is the remember who you are factor, to trust yourself. We say that all the time. It's a slogan, it's a phrase, it's our go-to. Trust yourself, allow your flow. And it's big. It's so big. Some people come into the community and into the teachings, and they'll say, that's one of the hardest things for me when I showed up here, was to learn to trust myself. But even the community was built so people could have an experiential space, because people don't know how to trust themselves.
Yeah.
It hasn't been easy. Like, you feel like you're going to be judged. You feel like you're going to be, shunned. Something bad's going to happen if you mess it up or say it wrong or whatever. And so it takes so much for people to kind of step out of that and lean into an entirely new way of being. But that's what the new human is. That's what the new earth is, right? It's that new way of being. And that's where we trust ourselves. So if it feels new and it feels awkward, good. That just means you're on the right path.
Disclosure. When is that ever going to happen? We've been hearing that for many years that there's going to be a disclosure. But if it does happen, I'm tired of hearing that humanity's not ready. I think we're more than ready. But if it does happen, how does that change humanity's understanding of itself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's happening in a sense, but it's happening through pockets of individuals who are having these experiences themselves to a level in which it doesn't matter what society or the government or anybody else tells them. They know they've made contact. I know I've made contact. I've already had disclosure, but it was given to me by, higher dimensional beings themselves. Yeah, even in my workshop in LA at the Conscious Life Expo, we were recording. It's on my YouTube channel. It's not an incredibly high quality recording. It was my phone, but it was all I had to work with at the time. But there's all these beings. There's these orb spheres and shafts of light, and they're coming and going and moving, and they're on my channel and other videos as well. That's contact. For me, that's disclosure in a sense. It's not coming from the government, but you know what? It's not, I feel like in a sense, it's more authentic when it comes into your own life in whatever way your consciousness is available to receive the information. I do think it would change everything, but I do think we have the opportunity for it to change everything in a good way. I do think there could be pockets of society that they may not be able to process it as easily. I think everybody could be ready, but I think that some may not process it as easily because for whatever reason, they're still running a vibration of separation and fear at such a level where, the balance level needed, the coherent energy you would need to be in order to accept such a massive change, such a massive understanding. I think some people might not do that as easily, but I do think personally, we could get so trippy here. I'll give you the shortest version possible. Okay. Oh gosh. So prior to, the history we've been given, the books we've been taught, about our planet and the cultures and the civilizations and so forth, there's been a lot of resets, I believe. I believe there have been annihilations of complete groups of people, because for many different reasons, but there are many here on Earth right now that are in human form. And we also remember a space of ourselves before the resets. It's coming back and it's rising. And there's a purpose in it. And it's to help with this shift that's happening that is connected with disclosure. Because I believe humanity in their DNA has genetic code that's connected with what many call the stars or aliens or cosmic beings. I also believe you could call them higher dimensional beings, and that would work as well. I do think that helps the mind a bit because it opens it up a little bit further past a specific star system and into an even greater sphere of availability. But yes, these people are here on the planet right now and they're coming on, they're activating, they're remembering this origin point of themselves and it's activating it in the DNA. We did this at the LAX, the Conscious Life Expo as well, where we were activating this in the DNA. We do this in a cosmic quantum energy. There's a lot of us on the planet that are here to be this. Why? Why are we here? Because disclosure is coming in a sense, whether it's going to be allowed to come through a means in which we think it would come, like governmental or something like that through society. It's coming no matter what, because you can't cap this. You can't, no one, like they think they could, like people believe they could, but they can't. Something this big can't be stopped in a sense, because you have conscious awareness landing inside of human beings to where they're going to be able to register it with their own knowing. They're going to be able to, I have the most trippy understandings, but they're real. I
Yeah.
see field plane existence land. I see beings, they're incredible. They're tall, these, we call them the tall ones. They come walking into the room. Yes. And I know they're there, and I will register them. And then after the thing, somebody will come up to me and they'll go, "Did you see those beings?" Like they see them too. There's people here, there's seers, like you asked about earlier. And we said, everybody can do this. Everybody hearing me, you can do this. It's a facade. It's a distortion. It's a lie that you're not more. It's a lie that you need something outside of you to save you. It's a fed manipulation. Yes. And we're ready to be beyond it. Therefore, we're ready for disclosure, but we're going to be the ones that disclose it to ourselves or give it to ourselves. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. I appreciate that. You know, that's what I love about what I love about you, especially in this interview right now, talking to you, how you honor people's belief systems and where they're at, yet you're still speaking from a state of your own truth, your own authenticity and insight. And I really appreciate that about you. Yeah. You know,
It's allowing ourselves to see the divinity within all.
mm,
Every space is so valuable, and it's just it's an incredible thing to sense someone's divinity. And if you really do it, you would never want to discount where they're at, because you would see the sacredness in their own journey. Does that make sense?
it makes a lot of sense. I appreciate that. I'm going to end it with one more question.
Okay.
If I can put you on a big screen in the sky and everyone could hear you, and I believe everybody's voice matters, what kind of advice or what kind of words of wisdom would you give humanity right now, especially people that are feeling overwhelmed with this shift?
May I speak in English, and then may I also speak in the language of the universe?
Please do.
Yes. Okay. So, yes, dear one, holy one, please, please, please hear this. Hear me now. Yes. You are not alone. You are not alone. You are surrounded by love. Yes. You are surrounded by love, and you are that very love. It is your core and it is your essence. You know this within you. Yes. And you are tired, and that is valid. But you are seen, and you are heard, and you are strong, and you are brave, and you signed on for this very space because of that strength and because of that bravery. Do not waver, Holy One. Do not give up. Do not give in. But remember, lean into your heart. Listen with your heart. Yes. Listen with your heart, Holy One, and trust yourself. Nane akaokua. Nane akaokua. Apoa ye ianakawa kea. Ianakawa kea. Breathe for just a moment, please. Just a breath. Nea saotoa. You are sacred. You are ancient. Yes. And you're having a now. Trust yourself, Holy One. You are surrounded by love. Allow your flow. Kaukoa. 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 Yes.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. How can we find your work, in contact with you and find your book?
Website, sacredexpansion.com. A.L. Garris on all social sites. Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, A.L. Garris. And we have that spiritual community. If people are looking for a home base, we work with a cosmic quantum energy, but we respect all. And we are here. We are light. And we are here. And we come in peace. We come in peace.
A.L. Garris, thanks for coming on. It's an honor and a privilege. I'm a stizzle.
I've never said this before, but let's try it. Namastizzle.
That's awesome. Thanks again.
Blessings, Holy One. Blessings.
Blessed be.
Just know we out here. Know we out here working in a major way. Had to speak on it just to make a break. Any given subject, know we make a way. Time to level up on a day-to-day. Know we out here working for the greater good. Expand your mind, broaden your lens the way you should. From the stars to the galaxy to speak on spirituality. Higher understanding for the neighborhood.